As sun sets on summer and dusk brings fall, the days grow short and the nights grow long. As dawn brings winter, the skies become gray and the wind grows cold. By the fireside is where the stories are told.
It was in the spring of the year 1914, just before the guns of Europe cracked open the modern world, when the Cormorant departed Lisbon's harbor under a waxing sky. She was a grand vessel, painted in pale ivory and trimmed with copper, her engines humming beneath decks with all the dignity a lady of her stature could possess. Though newer ships boasted more luxury, the Cormorant attracted an unusual clientele, wealthy, reclusive, and strange in appetite. Among them was a man named Thaddeus Lyle, an American-born collector of rare wines, antiquities, and machines. His cabin was the grand suite above the prow, but he spent most of his hours deep in the cargo hold, amid crates of forgotten wood and sealed barrels that creaked as if sighing in their sleep. One such barrel had no listed origin, no tax stamp, and no mark of registry. Its iron hoops had been warped by pressure or flame, and its surface bore a peculiar patina like dried blood under moonlight. Though the stevedores refused to touch it, Lyle insisted upon its careful placement near a strange brass contraption of his own design, concealed beneath a heavy tarp and surrounded by copper tubing that breathed faintly, as though it inhaled the chill sea air. The voyage began smoothly enough, and the ship crossed the Atlantic in calm waters, its lights gleaming over the dark sea like a floating cathedral. But by the seventh day, passengers began to whisper of strange occurrences. Mirrors warped reflections subtly. Footsteps echoed where no one walked. One man swore he woke with sea salt crusted on his tongue, though his porthole remained sealed. More troubling were the stars, which seemed to shimmer out of alignment, subtly shifting positions, even though the navigator insisted his charts were unchanged. Lyle invited several passengers to a private midnight toast in the music salon. He uncorked a bottle drawn from the strange barrel, a wine darker than ink and faintly luminescent, as if catching light from within. He spoke in soft tones about sacrament and communion, about unlocking awareness, and not through prayer, but through fermentation, and about a machine built not to speak, but to listen. The guests drank hesitantly, and those who did found themselves transported into visions more vivid than dreams. They described cities beneath the sea with glass towers shaped like vertebrae, oceans with no sky above, and a being upon a throne with a face shaped like a mirror cracked down the center. One woman collapsed screaming and would not wake. The second man muttered a single phrase before biting off his own tongue. The phrase was heard by the steward, something like, "We have been decanted." After that night, the ship's descent into madness was slow, quiet, and absolute. Each evening brought new symptoms. Teeth fell out without pain. The ship's clocks began to run backwards. Music boxes played melodies the crew swore were not written in any key known to man. Meanwhile, in the hold, Lyle worked tirelessly on his machine. It stood nearly twice the height of a man, a blend of ancient diving bells, steam gauges, and well-thumbed gears polished to a shine. He called it the resonant sensor. He claimed it was not his invention, but rather a transcription of something shown to him in a dream after handling a shard from the barrel's rim metal of no terrestrial ore. The machine operated without coal, steam, or wire. It generated its own movement through oscillation, pressure, and sound. It was not made to think, Lyle insisted. It was made to remember. The barrel was its heart. The wine, he claimed, was more than a drink. It was medium. Each person who consumed it contributed impressions, sensory experiences harvested by the machine through tonal induction. Their memories fed it. Their fears were notes in a hymn. Lyle would seat each guest within the brass cradle of the ascensor, crank the valves open, and allow the machine to listen as blood pressure modulated in rhythm with unseen tides. He believed it was reaching something, or more precise, that it was calling something back. As the cormorant passed beneath an equatorial star formation recorded only once before in ancient Ethiopian charts, the ship changed. Doors led to rooms that did not exist. A newborn child aged a year in a day. The engine crew vanished, their uniforms found folded on the iron grates. One sailor was discovered inside a sealed lifeboat, whispering in a language older than Hebrew and colder than ice. Then the machine began to hum. Passengers who had not drunk the wine began to see its effects. Their dreams filled with static. They woke with maps etched into their palms. One woman saw her dead husband walking in the halls at night, head tilted at an impossible angle. Below deck, The barrel had cracked open, not from pressure, but from within. Its contents no longer resembled wine, but a mass of golden threads woven through with veins of brass and coils. The censer drank it greedily, its tubes pulsing like the lungs of a buried beast. On the 14th night, the ship stopped moving. The sea beneath it was still, not merely calm, but rigid, as if frozen. The stars were all wrong. The moon had not risen in 2 nights, and yet the deck glowed as if bathed in lunar lights. No one could say where they were. The navigators were missing. The only sound was the slow, breath-like rhythm from below, for the censer had opened its final iris. It was not a machine anymore. It had become something else, something grown. Lyle was last seen descending into the hold, wearing a black robe stitched with copper wire. He carried in his hands the final glass of wine, the sacrament of culmination. He did not return. When a rescue vessel intercepted the cormorant 3 weeks later, they found no one aboard. The ship drifted in a field of mist, its deck salted over with frost. Mirrors inside the cabins reflected only distant oceans that did not match the surrounding waters. The ballroom was still lit, though no power source remained connected. In its center, a single phonograph spun endlessly, playing a woman's lullaby. No voice could be traced, and the record was uncut. Below, the machine stood silent, but warm. No fire fueled it, yet it pulsed like a beating heart. Where the barrel had been, there was only a carved brass mass covered in fungal metal, shaped eerily like a human skull merged with a diving bell. The last entry in the logbook, written in a hand that shook with something other than cold, read only this: "We fermented time."
As sun sets on summer and dusk brings fall, the days grow short and the nights grow long. As dawn brings winter, the skies become gray, and the wind grows cold. By the fireside is where the stories are told.